Hey, my name is Adaye Moon. I am the Associate Artistic Director here at Theatrical Outfit and am honored to be in the Zoom room with two extraordinary artists who worked on an amazing play over a week ago called We the Village. And I want to introduce them to you, and we're going to have a little combo here. Um, Dana Stringer. Dana, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as the playwright of this magnificent play in development.
I sure will. Hello, everyone. I am Dana Stringer. I am a playwright, a poet, writing instructor. I also dabble in a little screenwriting. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. We say Louisville, not not Louisville, by way of LA. So I relocated here in Atlanta in about 2013, and it took me about a couple of years before I really felt comfortable with engaging with the theater community. And ever since then, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I've been fully embraced, and We the Village is one of the first plays that I began to try to, get some feedback on, and just been a nice little journey ever
Yeah,
since.
fantastic. And we also have the amazing director, Mr. Steve Broadnax. Sir, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Steve H. Broadnax the third. I try to get
All right, all of Steve
it.
H. Broadnax the third.
What I am director, writer, composer, educator. I'm a tenured full-time professor at Penn State University. And I'm a brother, I'm a, mentor, and a lover of the art, and have been a privilege to work with Dana on We the Village. And this is my first time connected to Theatrical Village. So it's an honor to work with you all.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. I just realized when Dana was talking that there are two Southern artists in this room.
Yes, yes.
Talk a little bit about what it's like to be a Southern artist in American theater, because I think it's kind of especially a Black
That's a
Southern
good
artist
one. That's
in American theater. I think it's a kind of unique space we hold.
Yes.
So yeah, either one of you want to talk about
yes.
that first?
Go for it, Steve.
Well, I like to say I was country before country was cool. You know what I mean? Now, it's cool to
It's
be country.
cool.
I was always, you know what I mean, from Little Rock, Arkansas, and to being the Southern artist in it's wonderful. I think it's rich, the language, the history, the culture. I think all people came from the South. Our history, we migrated, but our roots are down here. So it's always wonderful to tell our stories, and I don't think it's often told as a specific, got hot sauce in our bag swag. You know what I mean? That is our work. And so it's always an honor. And then to deal with queer work in the South is even more spice, shakalaka seasoning on it. You know what I mean? So it is an honor. I'm proud to be Southern. I'm proud that we get a voice and a platform and an opportunity to show our rich culture.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that because I love being a Southern writer, and I want to say that I lived in LA. I think I mentioned this earlier, that I lived in LA for 12 years, and the West Coast. There's a whole nother world, very liberal, very, very liberal. And when I told somebody I was moving, relocating to Georgia, they was like, "Why? Why do you want to go back down south?" And I was like, I'm going just to see. I feel like it's calling me. I feel like there's something there for me. I'm totally reinventing myself. I'm going to pursue, because I was in advertising out in LA, but I was still writing and doing all those kind of things as well on the side. But I said, I'm going to pursue writing. And I felt like when I got here, these stories just began to flood me. And I'm like, all of these untold stories that I know they have such a Southern, just a rich Southern context to them that I've got to tell. And it's so interesting is when I was out there writing plays in LA, people were like, well, why does everybody sound Southern? Well, I was like, well, because I'm from Kentucky, and it's just in me. So Yeah, I love it. I love it. I just think there is, it's so nuanced. It's so many layers to be dealt with. I feel like there's just a tremendous amount of just rich history and
Yes.
culture that you just can't find everywhere. And I know we have the perception of what the South is and what it was historically, but
Hmm.
it's the new South, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the new South that
Oh yeah.
that we get to tell these stories.
Right. And being Southern based and being Atlanta based now, and Theatrical Outfits series, well, what will be our ongoing development series, Made in Atlanta, and We the Village being the inaugural project in Made in Atlanta as a development series. Could you tell us a little bit about the origins of the play and maybe some of your workshop experiences prior to last week's at TO?
Yeah. Let me see here. We the Village began as a 10-minute play, and it was originally called Miss Frankie Lee. And this was back in 2017. I submitted it, but the actual idea of it, and to this day, my mom says she didn't tell me about this. But anyway, I remember at least a decade ago. That's how long I've lived with this story. She told me she grew up in the projects in Louisville, and she told me about a gay man that lived in the projects, and he was really friendly to all the kids. The kids loved him. He would give candy out to the kids and all these kind of things. And that was basically the gist of the story. She never gave me a name or anything, but it always stuck with me. And probably, I know, like a decade later, it just stuck with me. And I kept thinking about, well, let me explore a kind of character like that to show this other side of of not just a gay man, but a gay man who's a drag queen.
Hmm.
So, and then when I told her about it, I said, "Mama, remember you telling me that story?" She was like, "I never told you that." I was like,
Ooh,
"I don't
that
know where it goes."
was
Hey, I always say, "Hey, the muse is somebody." It's like, but I got that story and it stuck with me, and I began to work on it, and for a period of about 3 years, just working on it off and on,
mhm.
and it just kind of materialized into the 10-minute, like I told someone when I was in the original 10-minute play panel, and was saying the characters just keep on talking, like and after 10 minutes they're like, okay, we done. They just keep on talking, and I'm like, okay, I got to write this stuff down. So that's when I began to write it down, and then I originally submitted to working title playwrights and got some feedback on some of the scenes and everything, and from there it went to it garnered I'm sorry, the first light reading series with working title playwright. So they had a first reading at Horizon Theater in 2018. Got a
Mhm.
lot of good feedback that was so important. It was important. It was very early stages, maybe like the second or third draft of it, I even think. And then it went on to get into the Unexpected Play Festival, and the whole process has really been, it wasn't never really like a workshop process, but I had been working back and forth with like a couple of dramaturgs that would give me feedback about it. And then, of course, with the feedback with the stage readings was always helpful. So I just held on to a lot of those notes and things and found myself so fortunate enough to be a part of the Made in Atlanta series. And I'm telling you, last week blew my mind.
Yeah,
Steve is awesome.
No.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it was
It's
a wonderful experience.
beautiful process just to witness on the from the outside looking in. Steve, you're a busy man. So
Lord.
what was it about, busy and blessed,
Right, right. Practicing gratitude.
busy and blessed.
Yeah.
What was it about this play that made you decide, yeah, I'm going to set aside some time in my schedule for an entire week and help the sister work on developing this piece?
First meeting Dana, hands down, it was like, period. She's so fly. Her voice is great. I told her immediately and reading the script, when you read scripts, I often give you 5 to 10 pages, for it to hook me
Right,
before I go,
right.
oh, okay, am I going to want to continue forward? And I mean, I've sat down in one reading this entire piece. I thought
Mhm.
her dialogue and what she was dealing with was brilliant. And again, dealing with the queer South, I thought, wow, this is what I want to be a part of. You know what I mean? And identifying as a same gender loving man, and then with her, and then seeing a reflection of a community that I think needs more to be heard more, you know what I mean, to
Right.
be understood, to be seen more, which is important not only to the macro community, but the micro community. I'm talking about specifically Black folks. We need we the village. And so I didn't care what was happening. I was going, and I'm glad Dana stuck with me and didn't go like this, brother. I hear from him one day, and then I'm calling, I got you. I promise you. I was like, I got you in my schedule. I promise this week I am yours. I am committed to you 100%. It was a passion play, you know, and things that I choose, it either people always teach me, you know, it's either for passion, for currency, or for connection. This was passion and community. And when I got an opportunity to get around you and Dana and the cast and just our community, I felt the love, and it was passion.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. That's great. I'm going to come back to community because I think that was a really important part of witnessing this process as well. But one of the things that's so beautiful about this piece from the first time I heard it, which was at the Unexpected Play Festival last year, to what it became over the week when you guys are working on it, is the way that this really this extremely complex way that you deal with Black masculinities in the plural. Could you talk a little bit about that, like as it relates to those characters, and why you felt like it was important to really beautifully explore the different ideas of what it is to be a Black man in America?
Yeah, that's really that's been on my heart for a long time. Just the spectrum of masculinity, because I see what a lot of my male friends go through in trying to meet those expectations and perform masculinity.
Right.
You know, when they're really not that masculine, or what we perceive to be as masculine. They're more a delicate type of man. And it just interests me, like, just to really push the boundaries, like how we can subvert masculinity, and as well as how men are limited and confined by that, and the expectations and the pressure that's put on men to perform that. So that was important. That was important to me because I mean, it just the whole gamut of, you know, whether it's toxic masculinity with Roosevelt, or you know, a more if I could say feminine masculinity with Frankie, and then we have Red. So that is always, I just think that we have limited Black men in an unfortunate way of how they are supposed to be a man, and what we you know, what we just expect of them, and how they're trapped in this performance often that doesn't fit their identity and how they want to be and move and navigate in the world, you know. Whether it's don't cry, don't be soft, you know, don't be you know, what we say, the PU word, and these things like that, and I almost look at it, I've always been interested in, like, what is it about the feminine that seems so disdainful, you know, because it's like
because there's that in that too. Yeah,
exactly. Like, what is it about that where like it's such a it's just very disdainful, or it's looked upon with disdain when you're a feminine man. Like, what is it about that? Like, he's less of a human being, or he's less of a person, or he's confused, or things like that. And I think it's beautiful. I mean, I think it's beautiful. And I think it just shows just the diversity of the creator and all of these types of you know, identities, and you know, that how we can be in the world, and it's not just based off of what we've constructed, the social constructs and things that we have, you know, that we have experienced, and you know. So yeah, that was kind of the gist of what I really wanted to kind of dig into.
Yeah. What about you, Steve? How about as a director, sort of pulling out and exploring those ranges in the process?
Like I wrote down, Dana, I'm still writing down when you talk, you know what I mean? Again, what about the feminine is disdainful? That is such a question. And I know Jordan, our dramaturg, we had a lot of conversation in this process. And just within the variety of men that we even had in our cast, from not only gender or sexuality to age, that all of us that were in the process, it was wonderful to get an opportunity to discuss this, because I think in our silence, it's what is destroying us as a community. You know what I mean? I was reading the other day, or I was watching television, and they said sometimes as men, we put so much focus, or we've been told, or about the paradigm, and we always are struggling or beat into us to be a man, that we forget to be human. And that, I think that's what is lacking in us, as in the freedom of us to be able to express and live our authentic selves. We are continually, Black men, oppressed. We are still oppressed. And what can we only, I can only imagine if we can live, you know, unfiltered, free. And it's just interesting. What about the feminine makes us weak? I mean, I was told those things growing up. That's what I was taught. You know, don't be a sissy. You can't be weak. You cut the grass. You build, you don't play with dolls, you don't cry, and you got to learn how to fight and to defend yourself. And, you know, vulnerability was seen as a negative thing, you know what I mean? And like she said, and femininity, absolutely not, you know what I mean? But then you go, why? Why? And where do we get this paradigm from? What are our paradigms of men? And I think it's that is suffocating us. This limited definition of what is a man.
And I want to say one thing that I just thought about, and it is a God's honest truth. If I know some of the most strongest, effeminate men that you can ever, I mean, they may rock a dress and some heels, but their spirits are so strong. They operate in integrity. They have character. They're taking care of relatives. They're doing all these things that we really, you know, they've been protectors. They're all these things that we say, oh, this is the masculine man's role. This is what he does. They are providing for loved ones. And I just think it's unfortunate that we have this narrow view of, you know, what a man is supposed to look like and act like in our society.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, I was reading the other day off the book, here's it beside me, Rethinking Rufus, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Let me write down this book. Thank you. And shouts out to soon-to-be Dr. Jordan Ely for her blessings over the past week as a dramaturg.
Yes. And the definitions, like you said, what being a man, and what the lie is that we weren't, there was more variety, and it was somehow the white man put that spirit on us. That's a lie, because pre-colonial Africa, that it was open. There were male intimacy. It wasn't limited by that. That's the lie we've been told, right? And it wasn't until medicine and psychology where it began to be deemed taboo. So it's so her exploring like the origin to set us free and allow our whole humanity, because I believe that white men get more humanity. They get more humanity. They get human, but yet we are still enslaved and oppressed by lies and miseducation. So that's why I kept telling Dana, we need this play in order to have the conversation in a safe place to free ourselves and enhance our community.
Oof, y'all gonna learn today, I guess. And getting back to community and the idea of safe spaces, which is something I'm very, very passionate about as an artist, but also in affiliation with Theatrical Outfit. I think the development room, the development workshop is a sacred space. And what was beautiful just witnessing was how you guys were able to cultivate that sort of space during the week where you were at Theatrical Outfit. And shouts out to all of the actors who were involved in the process. Shouts out to Jordan Ely as well. What are, for both of you, whether with this experience or other development experiences you have, what are some elements that you think are needed to create not just a safe space, especially for Black artists, but a brave space for Black artists to create and develop and expand on their work?
Go, Steve.
I think of my brother, Lloyd Richards, you know, who has passed
The
away.
great Lord Richards.
Yes, the great Lord Richard. And those who don't know, he was artistic director at the Yale Repertory Theater, but was known for directing August Wilson work. Known for many things, but primarily he and August were the team. But he often said, all things being equal, and this is paraphrased, by the way, all things being equal, the playwright, Dana will know the most because she wrote it. But all things being equal, the director knows the most because he or she comes in and dissects and knows the story. But all things being equal, the actor knows the most because they live it. And I stand on that. And as an artistic leader, I think my job is service. And that's why I discourage anybody who thinks they're getting into directing to be a dictator. It's not about you. It never is about me. It's about the artist, the writer that I work with, and being a foundation for a collaborative process. I think all of us are needed. Stage management, assistant stage management, lighting, someone who's there assisting, all of us it takes in order to create and tell story. So I always try to build a community from beginning and let everybody know your voice matters. You matter. You are seen here. You know what I mean? And there's a known respect, and I truly mean the base of the word, to respect, re-see each other. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to build from the beginning. And I care about the people I work with. The art is good, but the art is us. So I just really try to just really focus on building community from day one, because it's so important to me. And when we tell story, that's what I believe.
Definitely.
And I agree wholeheartedly with Steve. I mean, I think that the key thing that you brought up in one of our meetings was vulnerability. And I think that knowing that there is a strength in being vulnerable and opening up. And I think it was important for us, not even conversations about the script. We were just sometimes we would just break away and just have regular conversations. Like, how you doing? What's going on? And we was building this synergy. And I felt like, Steve has this way of letting people's walls start coming down. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I told him that. Like, you start sharing things. So just the process of knowing that, that brave space is one of the key elements of it, is knowing that you can be vulnerable, you can be open, that we can see your authentic self, you can be your authentic self. Nobody's judging the characters, nobody's judging you. We're going to make mistakes. None of us are coming in here with all the knowledge and all the things, and just drawing from each other. And like I believe we really created a close bond in essence, with all of those things, knowing that, you have a voice here. Say what you think, and don't hold back. And and I felt like we were all able to be vocal and vocalize the things that we were thinking about things, and the script, like I said, life things, life circumstances and things like that. So I think that is key. And I feel like I have more, but I can't think of it right now. But
and I want to piggyback. I love some people get listen, I've been blessed to go to the continent, step my foot on and spend some time. For the last 7 years, I've been to South Africa, Johannesburg. I perform at the Market Theater, the Free States, South Africa. But what I've learned is that community in Black culture is everything. It's not a side dish. Exactly. It's everything. So when I get to the theater, a lot of people don't understand. Now, I'm just call a thing a thing. A lot of white institutions that I may work at, I know they may get like, oh Lord, because when I'll come in, I just want to know about the people. I call it a soft start, where I was like, no, how's everybody? Let's check in. Let's just be human and check in with each other first before we begin to, so that we can know we're building community. And a lot of times I have to tell stage management or producers, I'm like, this is how I work. Trust me, we're gonna give you the product, but we have to have a place to be human first, before we can then be vulnerable and have the courage to share our truth with you. So that's the process. And so I love rehearsal. It's my favorite time.
Yeah. It was about connecting. I say connecting, vulnerability, building that trust, and giving people the space to share. Because within the Black community, especially within the Black family,
Mhm.
there are certain topics that are just off limits. We're not going to discuss them. We got those things where we like, we already know we're not going to discuss them.
Uh-huh.
But the theater community and being in that space, I don't think anything was off limits. We talked about everything. And even there was one of the actresses was learning about the gay community and learning and it was willing to be like, yeah, I don't know, teach me, tell me. And that's what it's about when people are, when you even got the actors and the actresses willing to learn about the Black gay Southern experience, and I thought that was powerful. That we can say that, there's things that we just don't know. Can you help me understand these things?
Mhm.
And I thought that was so important. And it's not like, well, you should know that. What are you doing in this play? Why it was like, yes, that's what we want to inform you. We want you to know, we want to dispel some of the myths and some of the negative stereotypes and some of the assumptions. Like, this is our opportunity and this is the space to do it. So it was like, where we say, oh, don't talk about, in the workplace, I say, no talk about religion or politics, but nothing was off limits. And I think that's important for building community and then I found like a liberty came with them when they started doing the play. I'm like, oh shit, they really like, they just was liberated. It's like, now they just own the characters. I'm like, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
my,
and I think people forget too. I think especially for Black artists who work in the professional realm, how rare those liberatory spaces are.
mm,
And so I'm sure with both of you guiding the process for those artists that were in the room, they were like, oh yeah, I can be my full self in this space and
mm,
no one's gonna judge me
Mhm.
or hold it against me or put it in their back pocket and save it for later.
right,
So
yeah.
so that I mean I have to commend the text for providing that, but
Mm.
also the way that you guys cultivated that room and space was beautiful. I got two more questions.
All right.
And I would love for you both to talk about your individual process in general, but also as it relates to the play. But Dana, first, I would love to know, like, what is your process when you start to work on or expand the seed that eventually becomes a play?
I I began with just kind of reading a lot about the subject that I'm interested in writing about. I listen a lot, listen to people talking about the issue or the subject. I take a lot of notes. I take copious notes. I save articles and essays.
Mhm.
I The thing about me is that the idea can sit with me for several years before I start actually writing. So it's like that whole time the characters don't leave me. I'll get the characters in a minute, and but the moment I sit down and start writing, um, you know, I give them space to begin to speak and they tell me what your story is. And I would don't y'all don't think I'm crazy. But I'm like I really tell my characters like, you're my friend. I want to hear your story. Like, I love you. Like, tell me your story. Like, I have that, like, I honor you. I want to honor your story. I want to tell it. Like, and it changes, of course, because unfortunately I'll impose something I want to put in there and then eventually it sounds stupid and I need to take it back. But I kind of go through this process of really giving the characters time to live in my mind, time to breathe, time to unwind, time to unpack, and while I'm still keeping this record and this file of information and ideas and research and things that I've done, and then it just one day it's like I kind of sit down and it's everything is longhand, of course, which is why it takes me so long because I have to write everything longhand. They say it's a connection between your hand and your heart when you're with a pen, so it's like I have to write all longhand, and and sometimes sometimes it's just like not really like scene by scene either. Sometimes it's just a line of dialogue, and I start getting the character's voice and what they sound like. And then I start really building their backstory because to me, the biography is important. Like I had wrote like pages of Miss Frankie Lee's backstory before I even kind of began writing and Red's backstory, like, where are they from? What are they like? What was their family dynamics? That's so if I'm thinking about what I like, and I'm gonna say this, that like, and I can appreciate people saying these characters are so real, like they're so real because they're real to me. Like I make them real in my heart because I want to know all about them. Like I would want somebody to know about me and my story. So I try to really take my time and do that work of the, you know, that backstory, and get to know them inside and out, and then start the process. You know, that's kind of it. I also have to have a soundtrack. I just learned this about myself because now I have to. That's
Oh, what's
telling
the
me that.
soundtrack for this
Oh,
thing?
honey. Oh, y'all don't even want to know. I
We need
got
a
all the
mixtape. We need a
90s
mixtape link.
house music. Don't let me. I got
Uh,
all the 90s house music and stuff that I was listening to.
Uh-huh.
But I recently, maybe over the last couple, maybe year or so, I said, I've got to have a soundtrack to get me, when I sit down before I write, I want to hear some music that I know the soundtrack to this play. Like, what would it be, you know? And so that's been helpful too. But that's a little bit of my process. But yeah.
How about you, Steve? I mean, what's your process when you approach a new work that's in development?
I think everything is in the script. You know what I mean? The script becomes my Bible. So it is me. I always say my job is to be. Katori Hall one time called me an Abdullah
Wow.
or a midwife, and she was like, "That's my job, is to deliver
Mm.
the playwright's work, their baby." So I have to investigate the play, and I just go through, and everything is in the text because and I'm always trying to discover what the baby wants to be, and so that I can deliver it carefully. So that is it. The play becomes my Bible, and then of course conversations with the playwright, and then anything I need to research. But it's all my base and foundation is the play, because my job is to service the playwright in the play.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Um, and my final question for both of you, what are some more things that you want to explore in relation to We the Village as it continues in its development process? What are some things that you want to explore more of and see more of for both of you?
Um, I can tell you what I want to see less of. That's I was looking like
That's
the
all right.
final.
We want to see less
That's all
of.
right.
I kept thinking sometimes, even in the final reading on Sunday, I was like, oh, that's a lot of exposition right there. I should cut that. But but I do. I was telling to Steve, I would love to see all of my performers perform. Everybody that Frankie names in the opening monologue between
Mm,
Cinnamon and Sugar and Pinky Latrell. I would love to see that, but I'm not sure. But I do want to see, as Steve brought to my attention, we want to see Frankie Lee perform. She's got to perform. I don't think
wow.
she really performs. And um, let me see what else. Oh goodness. Um, I would just like to see, like, based off of what I decided to do, in terms of reducing it down from a 20-year lapse in seeing each other in 10 year to 10 years. I do want to begin to see more of that time period, maybe factor into some of that second act. Jordan brought up a lot of good ideas in terms of what was going on in 2008 versus 2018, and I think that's crucial because that will play more into the struggle of trying to keep a business open and a lot of things, and unemployment and people getting laid off and things like that. So I find myself wanting to actually see. I'm actually excited about trying to see how I can work in some of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to support. I want to see more performance. Like, I'm looking forward to like Frankie and some of those drag performances that she has already written. I would just love to see that, because I just think of, theater of the African diaspora. We break beyond that. It is
Mhm.
music, it is movement, it is text, it is all of that, and she has it in her script. So that I would just love to continue to explore that world that she's created and get that music and that performance inside to share it with audiences.
Yeah.
We want people up in the dancing. We want people up dancing,
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
bringing dollars down to the thing, like making it
yeah,
rain.
yeah.
Any theater that produces it. Oh, we got dollars. We got
Let's get it.
tips. Tips. Make it rain. um, I got one more question, Dana, for you, and this is a
Uh-huh.
hard question to ask any playwright, so I'm apologizing ahead of time.
Okay.
If you had to briefly describe what this story is about to someone who doesn't know you or know the text, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as a story about A story about the longing and the search for love and connection and family in the unlikely places and unlikely individuals. I think that's how I would describe it.
I think that's perfect.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Yes, so I want to thank both of you for
Thank
bringing
you.
your intelligence and your vulnerability in helping to cultivate what I thought was a beautifully Southern and a beautifully unapologetically Black space to make sure that Dana's lovely story gets the breadth and the width and the attention that it deserves. And I cannot wait to see what the next iteration of both this collaboration, but also of the story is. I'm personally looking forward to it.
Thank you, Adaye.
Yeah, and thank you for honoring Theatrical Outfit by being the inaugural artist in the in Atlanta program. And Steve, you are officially family.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love you. I'm coming.
Stephen H. Broadnax III,
Yes,
Dana Stringer, thank you
Thank
for taking
you.
this time to talk with us at Theatrical Outfit about the wonderful play that we cannot wait to see on the stages, We the Village. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.